Welcome to the Agents of Innovation podcast, where we feature conversations with entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and artists.
Okay, well, we are at the Curanto Cigar Lounge in Zone 4 in Guatemala City, and I'm here with the owner, Alex Buitron.
Yeah.
Did I say that right, Alex?
Yeah, very good.
All right, good.
I know it's difficult.
So, Alex, so first of all, we're here, and we're going to go ahead. Curanto Cigar Club here in Guatemala City. We're at the original location in Zone 4, and you just opened a new location in Zone 10.
Actually, our original location was in Zone 10. That was our first Curanto in a project that the name was 1001. In Spanish era Mil y Una Noches, 1001 nights. But we decided to close because I think the project that was 1001 nights, it wasn't the place to be for Curanto, so we closed over there and then we opened here.
That's great. Well, yeah. Alex, as you know, I have been living in Guatemala City for most of 2021, and I was in this city for, I don't know, about 10 days. And, you know, I'm a big cigar aficionado, as many people that know me know. And I got down here to Guatemala City, and I'll tell you, the first week or so, I was a little disappointed. I started searching for cigar lounges. I found a couple cigar stores that sold cigars that I thought were a little overpriced. Most of them were Cuban. Won't name any names. But that seems to be the issue when I go places that are just like all Cuban cigars. Because in the United States, you can't really get Cuban cigars to buy. So, but then it's a long story, but I decided I was going to take a walk one day. I was living in Zone 10, actually closer to where your current lounge is. It wasn't open then. And I took a walk up here. I met a little bit older man who was walking down the street with me. Some people will remember my story of Hector that I met. But actually, because I knew I was going to be walking in this direction, which was quite a walk. It was like a 45-minute walk from where I was. I wanted to visit the Yorita Church. I saw that on Instagram. I saw that's kind of a cool thing. I just, you know, when you get to a new city and you have time because you're going to be living here for a while, you're just looking at exploring places. But I looked at the map and said, oh, there's a cigar lounge kind of not that far from there. Maybe I'll end up there and see if this one doesn't disappoint me, because I went to a couple that were kind of, you know, disappointing. And I say disappointing in that the selection wasn't very great. The clientele there wasn't really smoking cigars. They were there for beer and other things. And so anyway, but I walked in here and I met your then bartender, Pablo.
Yeah.
And I sat here, actually, probably about where you're sitting, on a Saturday afternoon. It was only a couple people were in here. And I had about a 2 or 3 hour conversation with Pablo, and it's fantastic. And I think the next time I was in here, I met you about 10 days later. So I really liked it. But then I learned that you all here at Curanto have your own cigar brand, and we're going to get into this a little bit later. But can you tell us, I've got the Sensontle, which says Habana Negra.
Yeah, the Sensontle is a bird from, well, it's in another countries, but here in Guatemala it's very...
It's a bird?
It's a bird, yeah. All the brands that go up above the Curanto are birds, all the brands. Like that one is in Sontle. It's that bird. The interesting thing about that name in that cigar is that bird make 400 different sounds.
Wow.
So we decided...
So is this bird native to Guatemala?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another one, like the other cigar that you have over there.
Yes, this one here.
Yeah, that cigar, the name is Ocotero. It's another bird from Guatemala. And that cigar, the special thing is that we aged in coffee beans.
Oh, wow.
So it's like an infusion cigar, but it's not sweet. So when you smoke it, you feel all the flavors of the coffee.
And tell me about the one that you have there. It's a big one.
Yeah, this is a Churchill. This is a 7-inch cigar. The name of this cigar is Buco Barbón. It's another bird from here, from Guatemala. And it's a Churchill, but at the same time, it's a very mild cigar. So it's very pleasant to smoke it.
So for those that don't know, Churchill is a type of size of cigar, right?
It's
a shape, a size.
That is a Robusto.
Robusto. Well, Alex, let's go ahead and light our cigar since we're here in the cigar lounge. This is actually now the fourth interview that I've done in a cigar lounge. I should mention that the very first one was with my friend John Morris. John actually, gosh, it's been about 9 years ago now that he was actually in a horrific car accident and became paralyzed and was in a wheelchair. So about 4 or 5 years ago, he was in Orlando and he likes to smoke cigars. And I said, John, I want to learn your story. He actually started a company called Wheelchair Travel, believe it or not. This guy was a big traveler. I knew him then before his accident, and he was a big traveler. And after his accident, he had to amputate his legs and actually one of his hands. So he's a triple amputee. And I think it was so amazing that he survived the accident. But the sad part was I was thinking, like probably many others, oh, he's probably not going to be able to travel again, or at least not as much as he did. Well, John today, as we're sitting here, is actually in Germany. He has actually traveled in his wheelchair to over, I think he's in something like 45 countries in his wheelchair. So, I might be getting that figure wrong, but it's up there in the 40s, just in his wheelchair. So that's in the last like 6 years. I've actually feel like I'm a well-traveled person, and I've been to 24 countries now, and 24 is a lot. And John has been to like 40-something in his wheelchair. So that was back about 4 years ago in the Corona Cigar Lounge in Orlando,
I know
and we just did it. We just showed up there and just did it.
I know that place.
Yeah, you've been there, right?
Yeah.
We just did it on like a random Wednesday night, and I just said, let's just go for it. I had a little small recorder. Then I've interviewed now Congressman Madison Cawthorn at the cigar lounge that he's a member of in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and the owner of that cigar lounge, which is called Casablanca Cigars. I interviewed the owner of that, Sam Sohail. So that was at least 3 cigar interviews. Oh, I'm forgetting one. Actually, the fourth one was in Orlando at the cigar lounge that I've been a member of the last few years, Admiral Cigar Club. And that was with a guy named Miguel Crespo. His family's from Cuba originally, but he was born in New Jersey. So that's 4. So actually, Alex, this is now my 5th interview in a cigar lounge that I can remember.
And first in Latin America.
And first in Latin America, first in Guatemala. And this has been great. But, one thing I always love about cigar lounges is you meet so many great people. And, I feel like maybe one day I'm going to write a book that says it all started in a cigar lounge. Because I feel like so many relationships I've made here in Guatemala started right here, either people I met here or people that I met here who introduced me to other people later.
Yeah.
And so, but you really do meet. The cigar culture is really interesting, and the kind of you've got to have at least a 45-minute, hour-long conversation once you sit down and smoke a cigar, maybe longer. I had the big Oscar, which was about a 7.5 hour smoke. That was a giant.
It was a 21-inch cigar.
Yeah, but Alex, tell me. So your last name is not easy to pronounce, but I did it at the top, right? Alex Buitron. And you are the owner and founder of Curanto Cigar Club here in Guatemala City, where we're at. But tell me a little bit. You were telling me about your last name Buitron and how close it resembles the Spanish name for a vulture. Tell me about that.
Okay. Vulture in Spanish is buitre, right? And in the school, when I was young, back in the 80s, my friends start calling me buitre because they found easy to say my name, that nickname, instead of my last name. So they started to call me buitre, and I did.
So on the playground in America, that would be the equivalent of a kid being called vulture.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're the vulture on the playground.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but it was because of my last name, not for anything else. When we start thinking about Curanto and all the brand and what we are going to do with the brand and everything, we start thinking about things that grows with me since I was young. So I told this guy that did the brand that all the story about the vulture, and that's why we put a vulture in the brand that is over here.
So right there on your shirt, is a vulture.
Yeah, it's a vulture.
Yeah.
This is a vulture, and all the brands around the vulture are birds, and that's why are birds, because of the vulture, and that's why the Sensontle, the Ocotero, and everything.
So it's funny because I've been coming here for quite a while now, at least 6 or 7 months, and I've actually smoked these, but I never
get it.
I never got the names of the birds. I guess my Spanish I haven't been practicing it enough here in Curanto. So many English speakers that come in here. No, but it's great. Actually, I was at the La Aurora Zoo a few months ago, and I just put together a little YouTube video talking about how for English speakers like myself, native English speakers, it's a fun way to learn Spanish by going to the zoo and learning what all the animals are called. Like a bear is oso, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll stop right there. But Alex, you obviously are the owner and founder of Curanto Cigar Club. You were born and raised here in Guatemala City?
Yeah, Guatemala City.
You've got 3 brothers?
Yeah, I have 3 brothers. I'm the second one. My sister is the older one. Then me, then another brother. His name is Juan. And my youngest brother is Andy. I'm 50.
So you have 1 sister and 3 brothers?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
And my youngest brother, I am 15 years older than him. So,
well, I'm 7.5 years older than my youngest brother.
Okay.
So almost, that's close. But we only have 3 in my
the problem
family.
is that they think they are older than us.
Oh yeah, believe me, we won't get started. Well, Alex, I also understand you're a former triathlon athlete.
Yes.
You've done Ironmans.
Yes.
Where have you done the Ironmans?
In Switzerland, in Germany, and the States, in Arizona.
In Arizona?
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't in the summer.
No, it was actually was in November.
Oh, okay. Still a little warm, but not nice.
At first, it was very cold. Then in 12 or 1 in the afternoon, it was very, very hot. And at 4 something, it was very cold again.
I forget that Ironmans take that long to do.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah. I was like, wait, you weren't done? You're also a husband and a father of 2. You have your daughter Bella, who's 10, and your son Alex, who's 6.
Yeah, he's 6.
And so I also understand that you've been a lawyer.
Yeah.
And at one point, you were Guatemala's ambassador to the Dominican Republic.
Yes, that's right.
But we're going to get started a little earlier in your story because I want to hear a little more about your journey. Tell us, what was it like growing up in Guatemala? I guess that was mostly in the 80s and so?
Yeah. At first, before we signed the peace with the guerrillas in 1996, it was obligatory to join the army here in Guatemala. But because I born in the city and lived there all my life here. For us was difficult to see to solve the problems that was in the interior of the country. It's not secret that every time we try to go to the beach or outside the city, we saw all the army marching to go to when you went to the beach or wherever you want to go to vacation.
So just to clarify, because the war never really came to Guatemala City in terms of military ventures, there was maybe some bombings and assassinations and things like that.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry about my English, but I'm trying.
No, your English is great. I just want the audience to understand that here in Guatemala City, which is the capital, where today about 3.5-4 million people live in the metropolitan area.
Yeah.
It probably was lower then. But really, when we think of a civil war happening in a country, and Guatemala was in a state of civil war between about the 1960s and 1990s.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
That was all of your
for
growing
30
up.
years.
You were in the late 70s and throughout the 80s. That was your growing up age. But it wasn't like you saw fighting in the streets of Guatemala City.
Never saw it.
Didn't happen. It was mostly out in the countryside. The violence that might have happened here was isolated incidents, maybe a car bomb or an assassination or something like that.
That's right.
But you're going out to the beach a couple hours away. That's where you might see military soldiers and guerrillas and things like that.
I never saw the guerrillas. What we always saw was the army march. Even if you go to the beach or going back, always saw the army in the pelotons, or I don't know.
Yeah,
marching both ways I think was to taking care of the city guys or to the people or the country people, everything.
Yeah. So what was, now as you were growing up, what was the first job that you had? maybe as a kid or something?
My mother used to have a ceramic school. I don't know if you know about ceramic.
Ceramic, yeah.
Yeah. She had a ceramic school in Zone 11. And when we were young and on vacations, we were forced to work at the to put in order the bottles with the paints or the pencils, or taking out the ceramic out of the ovens.
Yeah.
That was our works every vacation, to work with her.
Okay.
With my brothers and my cousins.
How old were you about when you did that?
About 10 years old.
So what were some of the lessons you learned from that time?
Difficult question. Yeah. I think, my mother just passed away about 11 years ago. And every time I remember, or people ask me about that, what I first remember is about her giving us that opportunity to experience the smell and everything that you have when you work, to earn your own money. It was a little money that she was paying us, but it was money at that time to buy gum or anything else. But at that time, I think that the first thing that I learned is, if you want something, you need to work, or you have to give something back. So,
and that when you work for something, it's a reward for something you might want, like gum or something.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Yeah,
and it was very nice to join her doing this. We learned, my brothers and I and my cousins, we all learned a lot about ceramic.
And also sometimes I think when you're a kid, you things are provided for you, right? Clothing, food, shelter, things you totally take for granted, and you don't realize what mom and dad are doing all day, right? And then you go and you see, wow, they're working hard to help provide for me and my brothers and sisters. So I think that's something too. And so when you go and you actually join them in that work, you can see. I mean, I remember, my dad, he worked mostly in sun care sales a lot, and there were times when I was a little bit older, when I was like in high school, and even a couple times in college, where I went out and joined him, and it was hard work, going in the stores and putting all that inventory out, checking, and also we had to wake up early to get out there and to get to the stores early before a lot of the customers did. And I remember, me and my brothers did that at different times, and we all came home just exhausted at the end of the day.
Make inventory is very hard.
Yeah, and then when I was a kid, I was fortunate. Me and one of my brothers, we played a lot of junior tennis. Mm-hmm. So my dad was actually our primary tennis coach most of the years growing up, and he didn't have a tennis background. He just learned it on his own when he was an adult.
Okay.
But when he would come home from work, he would then take us out to the tennis courts, and I don't think we understood for a while, wow, how tired he must have been to be able to do that, right? So thank
nice,
you, Dad.
man.
I know you're probably listening.
Yeah, man. Very nice.
But yeah,
very nice story.
Yeah, you hear, you get to see your parents at work. That's kind of nice that you were able to do that. So you also mentioned that when you were growing up, and there was the time of the Civil War here, it was required by at what age was it required for young men to you had to sort of sign up to enlist?
Yeah, it was obligatory from 18 years old. You just get your 18 by age 18 years, and because when you went to take your ID for after you got your 18 years, it was mandatory and obligatory to take your I don't know how
your ID?
After with your ID, your credentials that you are in the military.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I explained.
Yeah, so you had to show your military credentials.
Yeah,
anywhere you went, or just
no, just to get your ID. Just to get your ID. Before you get your ID, you have to get your military credential.
Gotcha. So this was it's like an obligatory. It's not really a draft, because the draft is random in some ways, right? This was every male over the age of 18 had to enlist, and you didn't necessarily Did you have to go to training?
No.
Nothing.
No.
You just that was kind of more random, probably.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so Alex, tell me a little bit about. So you eventually became a lawyer. What was the process like? Where did you go to college, law school, all that? How did that start?
I didn't get that in love with the career, with the law and everything. Not the law, but the with the work of a lawyer. So I got the opportunities to visit other places and to see things, and then in the work, that's what we are getting. After a few years, it started the opportunity to go to Dominican Republic to represent Guatemala in a foreign country, and my sister used to live in Dominican Republic, so I used to go to Dominican Republic from time to time. And then after that, I get that not the same opportunity, but to go to the same country. And I asked my wife, look, we have this opportunity, should we go? And she said, I have to go to Dominican Republic and see it before.
She had never been there?
No. So we went to Dominican Republic and she saw it. She got in love with the island. And then we came back. I said yes. And we went to Dominican Republic and I was representing it as an ambassador.
So let me ask you, so what kind of law did you do with your father?
Business law.
Business law?
Yeah.
And then...
because of that, it was easy for me to represent it in another country.
What was the process like to become an ambassador? You were Guatemala's ambassador to the Dominican Republic. How do you get a position like that here?
Well, it's very difficult. Well, it's not difficult, but it's different from. I think it's different, but I don't know. Sometimes, in the way that I see it is that an ambassador is you represented not only the country, but everything. And in between lines, you have to read it. The name business, because business is what moves a country, money. So, and for me it was not difficult to saw it represented in these business persons here in Guatemala, because I am representing not only political but private, because you're representing the whole country. So it was not difficult because I understand the business, that name that sometimes we think we understand, but you have to live it to understand it better. So in Dominican Republic, what our work was the first is to put together businessmen from Guatemala to business people in Dominican Republic, and after that, I think we did a good job.
So what years were you representing Guatemala?
From 2012 to 2016.
Okay, that's a good time. So you moved there and you pretty much lived there full time?
Yeah.
And how often would you come back to Guatemala?
From time to time, I think 2 or 3 times a year.
So you had been to the Dominican Republic before. Your sister was living there?
No,
or
she came back because she was pregnant of triplets.
Oh, okay. And did you have any kids at that point yet?
Yeah, one, Bella.
Bella, okay, yeah. So, and was your son born here, or was he born?
She was made in Dominican Republic. I'm born here in Guatemala.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, well, you've got. So you're over there in the Dominican Republic. Obviously, yeah, like you said, a lot of people. Maybe we think more of being an ambassador as something more political, and I'm sure it's like politically appointed and all that kind of thing. But and you're definitely helping, the diplomacy between the countries so that they have more friendly relationships. But also, the way diplomacy really works at the end of the day isn't between the politicians; it's between the people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's between, and the people are business people as well. They have economies that they want to grow. They have interests they want to grow. What was that like? What were some of the maybe business? I mean, without naming any specific names, but if you want to just give some examples of, maybe some of the relationships you helped to forge.
Okay. Actually, there are in Dominican Republic one sugar mill that the owners are here in Guatemala. So it was easy for me to help them over there because I knew I used to work here in Guatemala with them, so it was easier to help them over there. And there's also another business, Guatemalan business people living actually in Dominican Republic. Well, man, I don't remember right now what business it was, like chocolate. It was a very big export from Guatemala to Dominican Republic. Very, actually, like 40 containers per month that these people were sending from Guatemala to the DR. Oil, but oil for cooking.
Well, that's great. Well, so
I don't remember what else, man.
So these cigars are made from tobacco from the Dominican Republic. Now, let me ask you something. You got to the Dominican Republic in 2012, you said?
Yeah.
Were you a cigar smoker before you arrived there?
No.
No?
Actually, I didn't like the smell of the smoke of a cigar, man, and the cigarette was in that time killing me. The smell of a cigarette. I never smoked before, nothing.
Yeah, I've never been a cigarette smoker. I don't like it.
Yeah.
People's choice, whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But I love cigars. There's just something different about a cigar. But I only got into cigars probably around the same time you did. Maybe there was something in the atmosphere going on, Alex, but it's probably about 10 years ago or so, and I've been gradually getting more into them. And but tell me, how did you first
It's very easy
get
because
into that?
With my friends that I used to ride a bike in the DR, they already smoked cigars, and one time on a Saturday, they invite me to have a beer, and they were taking their cigars and start smoking. And I said, man, what are you doing? We are riding bikes. We just ride 7 hours of bike, so what are you doing with a cigar? And they said, try it. Nothing happens. Go ahead. You're going to like it. And I started to try it, and here we are.
Well, I think for a lot of people who don't smoke at all or don't smoke cigars, they don't understand that you don't inhale cigars.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that when you're in a lounge or even around someone smoking a cigar, that you're not picking up some secondhand smoke. But it's definitely not as toxic as a cigarette. And also, people that smoke cigarettes tend to smoke a lot of them all day long.
Yeah.
You and I smoke a lot of cigars almost daily for us. So that's a lot for most people. But so you tried this cigar. By the way, because I have friends, I say this because I have friends that's like, oh, I can't smoke a cigar. Every time I smoke one, I almost vomit or this or that. And I say, are you inhaling?
Yeah, I have those. I have that with people, that impression. But I think it's because when in the places where these guys were going, they didn't have the opportunity to or the chances to the guy that works in the cigar lounge to give him the right cigar mostly for a beginner.
Yeah, that's true too, because there's darker cigars, there's more mild cigars, well, stronger, darker, mild, And
you need people, you need to express the experience that you wanna to give to the guy that.
Also the sizes, right? You want to start someone with a mild, smaller cigar. I like to always, when I'm in a cigar lounge that has olivas, I love all sorts of Oliva cigars. Represent Florida, by the way. But there's a Connecticut wrapper Oliva that's like a white label. Yeah. And I forget the exact name of that cigar, but that's a really good one to start people off on.
I have this one that is Oscar Valladares. It's from Honduras. It's a Connecticut wrap also. Yeah. It's very, very mild cigar.
And what about the wrappers on your cigars here at Curanto?
Okay, this one that I'm having right now is a Corojo. The nice thing about Corojo, you can find it very mild like this cigar or very hard. It depends on all the fillers and everything and the other leaves that you have. But this one is very mild. And the Corojo wrapper, what I like about this wrap is that this exactly leaf grows where cocoa beans were growing before they put to grow tobacco leaves.
Do you know what country is that grown in?
In Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
So the whole cigar is basically Dominican Republic.
All these 3 cigars are from DR.
So okay, so again, you started. You were biking with some friends. You had some cigars. By the time you left the DR, were you a pretty regular cigar smoker?
Yeah. But right now I'm smoking more.
Yeah, now you are. Well, so you got these were actually produced in the DR with the Curanto name. Tell me the process. How, if I want to brand, maybe I want to have a Fearless Journeys cigar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it will be very cool.
Yeah, right. Or whatever it is, whatever brand I want to have a cigar. What is the process? How would somebody get started? Maybe give an example from the Dominican Republic.
Okay, for me it was very hard because I had to go to the fabric or to where they are making the cigars every Saturday.
This is the factory?
In the factory, yeah. To the factory and I have to try it. It's very hard in some way because when I went there was the roller with all these different cigars. Do you have a lighter? Yeah. With all these different cigars, I have to try each one.
Yeah.
Not to the end, but try it to start choosing and take out what you don't want and focus on what you want, and then start changing the leaf. I like the cigar, but it's too strong or it's too mild and everything. It's a very big process because after you found what you want, they start rolling it, and then you have to age the cigar for a little time, and then after age, then you can sell it.
Wow. So you found a factory that would produce it.
Yeah, it was near Punta Cana.
Okay. And then once you found the factory, you had to kind of was it a 1-day process? Was
no,
it
for a year.
For a year.
For a year to choose which cigars.
Wow. So you were, how many times did you go on site to the factory?
I don't remember. A lot.
I mean, if I didn't live in the DR and I just wanted to visit the DR and
you have to spend, you have to go, because if not, you have to I don't know, to what the roller are telling you. Yeah. You have to choose, or you have to let him choose what.
Well, you really wanted to be involved in every step of the process, and it was fortunate that you lived there for so long that you were able to do it.
So if you have this in mind, I recommend you to go to Nicaragua because it's near.
So Nicaragua is much closer to Guatemala. I love a lot of Nicaraguan cigars too. Mm-hmm. Some might claim they're the best right now, but I think the 3 hot spots on the planet for cigars are probably the Dominican Republic, Cuba, and Nicaragua. Those are probably the 3, right?
For me, it's Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and Honduras.
And Honduras. You don't not into Cubans anymore?
No.
Yeah. Well, it's a different place there now than it was, of course, and that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so you decided you wanted to have your own branded cigar. Did you know yet that you were going to open a cigar lounge in Guatemala?
Yeah, actually, I did my own brand because of that. And you know who pushed me to do my own brand? My wife. She said, you have to do your own brand because you're going to be the first one in Guatemala to have that. And you have to make a big impression at first. So that's why we did it. And we had this in mind to put a cigar lounge here.
So when did you first open the first Curanto?
In 2018.
So you came back in 2016?
2016,
and 2 years later. I know you've been working in the legal field for most of your adult life. At what point? I know sometimes I ask you, and I feel like you're not retired, but you're doing different things now with law. What was the evolution of your law your legal career, and when you came back from Guatemala, did you go back into that?
No.
No?
I stopped working with the firm, and get all my attention into this business, because it's really what I wanted to do with this passion. And I think that right now, if I look back, I think it was a very nice point that we focus on the cigars, and on all this, on the whiskeys and everything that we are trying to sell, that is an experience. So I think it was a good idea for me, and gives me the pleasure to do what I really found that I wanted to do.
So it's interesting. The lawyer goes to the Dominican Republic to represent Guatemala, comes back a cigar aficionado, and decides to open a cigar lounge with his own branded cigar in Guatemala. Now, I mentioned before when I got here, so actually let me go back. I first came to Guatemala for the first time in 2019, but it was only for 4 days. It was to visit my friend Kyle, who was living here for about 9 months. He was learning Spanish. We spent one night in Guatemala City and 2 nights in Antigua, and then I left. I mean, it's such a quick trip. And my friend Kyle's not a cigar smoker. I am, but yeah, even in 2019, I wasn't like crazy about it like I am now. but I said, oh, maybe there's a bar. We were in Antigua, and I said, oh, maybe there's a place we could go and I can get a cigar. And it was hard for me to find one. I can't say I looked particularly hard, but I found a little kind of wine store there right near the arch, and they have cigars.
Tabacos y vinos.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah. And I found a cigar. It was whatever it was. It might have been a Cuban, I think, probably overpriced. and then we sat up on top of a rooftop, grabbed some beers, and I had a cigar. And but anyway, I just remember in my mind from that period, it wasn't exactly easy to find a cigar that was a reasonable price in Guatemala. And so when I got back here in the first 2 weeks, when I was living here in 2021, the first 2 weeks it seemed a little bit tough, and I thought, man, I'm going to Central America, right? Like right next door, Nicaragua and Honduras, they make all these cigars. Where is the cigar culture in Guatemala? Now, luckily, I found it it took me a few weeks. I felt like that was a long time in my mind, a few weeks. But now that I've been here, it seems a little silly to say that. But there really isn't that many cigar lounges. Now, there's going to be different people that I'm having on the podcast because I met them here, or I met them and then met somebody through them, that I met here. Yeah, Diego Jarquin, I met him here. I don't think I met Jake Denberg here, but Jake is a big cigar aficionado as well. Yeah. Both of those guys are chefs and have restaurants, and they have little cigar boxes. And the first time, I think it was like the third time I was here, is when I met Diego for the first time. And you had a group of guys here, and he walks in to join them and you. And I met him, and I started talking to him in a few minutes, and he was telling me about his restaurant, Cabell. And he said, hey, look, I prefer to smoke my cigars at Curanto. But when you're at Cabell, if you want a cigar, I've got a little cigar box. I think that was his way to get me to Cabell. So he's a good marketer.
Sell it.
Yeah. But he actually carries some of your cigars there in his box as well. So when you're away from Curanto, you could still be with Curanto.
Yeah, that's right.
I also took this cigar. I think it was this green one. What is this?
Cotero.
I think this is the one that I took to Acatenango.
Oh yeah, that was.
And then I smoked it off Fuego.
Yeah,
my picture.
That was a cigar. And I think that was the same cigar that you took to Tikal. I don't remember.
Actually, I took the Antigua cigar to Tikal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I felt like I did each of you a Guatemalan iconic space.
Oh man,
yeah,
great.
So that was good. They liked that. But anyway, regarding the cigar culture here, so you start to see a lot more people smoking cigars, maybe coming to lounges. Well, then of course 2020 hit, and we had COVID, and you guys had some serious lockdowns here in Guatemala. Tell me one about the lockdowns and how severe they were, what the curfews were like and all that, and how did you transition your business during that time?
Actually, thanks of the COVID, our business starts growing because...
So he starts with thanks to the COVID.
Yeah, man. Because we closed on March 14th. And we sat with the people that I work here and said, well, man, what are we going to do? And I start thinking, and then we made a website in 1 week. Actually, I did it by myself.
Wow.
And I get inside YouTube and start showing how you make a website, and I learned.
This is why I tell people, I don't even know why people. Sorry, I know one of my students is over here helping to video this, but sometimes I wonder why people even need to go to college anymore when everything's like on YouTube or online, and it's mostly free for you to get, except for your time. But you have to spend time in class anyway. So, but you taught yourself how to build a website because you watched a YouTube video,
and I make it, and. It took me about a week to make it, and we made it to put it in the web, and start putting all the web. What is the name? The Curanto Club.com.
Yeah.
And start putting it on the social media and everything.
So did you not have a website before COVID? You didn't even have a website.
No.
Oh wow. So COVID really gave you the need to have a website and an opportunity to do so.
That's right. And then after a week, we started to send like 10 or 15 deliveries per day. And I think that's the way that Curanto start to getting into people's mind, because everybody was in their homes. We couldn't get out of our houses, and most of the people was desperate to be in there. They were looking about what other things to do when they were home office, and I think the cigar helps you a lot when you are working with a computer, and even if you are allowed to smoke in your house. Or actually we had a hashtag that is what is the name? What is the hashtag? It's office bar or bar office.
Bar office. Yeah, hashtag bar office.
Hashtag bar office. So that helped us a lot, the COVID, and that I think that was the way that we get to people's minds to new Curanto.
Well, what's funny, I want to make two comments here. First is before COVID, I was already a cigar smoker, and I'd say 10 years ago, before about 10 or 12 years ago, I'd only had maybe like 5 cigars in my whole life. It was for like special occasions, like after a wedding or like something like that. And then I don't know, about 10 or 12 years ago, I started smoking cigars. And then I had some monthly gatherings with some friends, and I was like a once a month cigar smoker.
Uh-huh.
Then it was like twice a month, and then it was like once a week, and I don't know. I was probably becoming a couple times a week cigar smoker before COVID. And I had a cigar lounge in my neighborhood that I had just been living in for about a year at that time. No, a couple years at that time. But when COVID started, I had a nice balcony in my neighborhood in Orlando, and I started spending more time. It was also a beautiful time of year, March, April, in Florida, perfect time of year. And I started doing some Zoom happy hours. I was like, okay, we got to keep people being social, right? Because some people might feel like they're alone or isolated, or like, how dare people keep us apart, right? I was not a big lockdown fan at all, and we didn't have serious lockdowns as you did. And of course, in Florida, we opened up 6 weeks afterwards. Mm-hmm. For most things opened up. But I said, let's keep the social stuff. So we started doing some Zoom, and what was great on Zoom is there were some Zooms I had 15, 20 friends on, and not all of them smoked cigars. So some of them smoked cigars, and some of them didn't. But the ones that didn't smoke cigars, they weren't having to smell our cigar smoke, right? They didn't care. They'd see us on the screen smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
And then the ones that were smoking cigars, it was like, hey, here's the way we can bond and still be together. Because I think one of the great things about cigars is being with other people. Now, I smoke a lot of cigars on my own nowadays. Like you said, if I'm, I get a lot of writing and reading done, like on my back patio, even here in Guatemala. I feel like it kind of stimulates my mind a little bit more to just be like having a cigar to smoke while I'm doing that. But the other comment I was going to make was you had that hashtag bar office, which I'm now discovering actually pertained to the home office probably. But a few weeks ago, I was feeling a little sluggish after lunch one day, and I wanted to get, I had some work I had to get done. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to go take my laptop to Curanto.
Yeah, I saw you here.
And I sat here. I sat here from about 2:30 to about 5. And Pablo was here as the bartender. And I said, Pablo, hey, I'm in my bar office.
Yes.
Because I saw your hashtag bar office. And then after 5 or 5:30, whatever it was, I thought I'd head home. But you were here, and we started talking for a couple hours. And I said, you know, we should just make this a podcast.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
yeah.
And you know, in the in COVID last year, we made a Zoom also, a Curanto Zoom. We had it every Thursday from 5 p.m. till 12 a.m. with Diego. I don't know if you remember, if you knew our friend from Costa Rica, Javi.
I met him the second time I was in here.
Okay.
Yes.
And we were about 20 or 30 people smoking cigars, everyone that was on the Zoom. And we send them the beer, we send them the liquor, we send them the cigars. And every Thursday for 4 or 3 months,
Wow.
we had that.
Yeah, you know, the I guess the fortunate thing through COVID is that we have access to technology, and even though we're apart, we can kind of be together. It's not the same, of course, over Zoom, but at least you can do things. And now it's given people a lot more. People are now used to doing virtual events, so like I started this community Fearless Journeys where people are getting coached by some of my previous podcast guests. And also we have a book club and all these sorts of things. And so we have a couple things a month online virtually, and we could do things in person. But what's nice when you're starting a community where not everybody's in the same place, they're not in the same state, they're not in the same country maybe, they can still have a conversation together.
That's
and
right.
see each other on screen. And so it's nice when you're able to do that with the cigars.
Right. And actually with the Zoom on Thursdays, my friends from Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico were joining us also every Thursday.
Oh, that's very nice. So a few more questions here, Alex. So first of all, do you still compete in triathlons or Ironmans or anything like
not
that?
Anymore.
Not with these cigars. Right?
Actually, I had an accident on the back in Dominican Republic.
Oh, no.
On the bicycle. I cracked my collarbone.
Oh no.
And 5 ribs. So between that, my youngest brother was born, so have to choose. And after
Your youngest son, you mean? Your son was born?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And between that also, I have to came back to Guatemala. So those 3 events make me stop doing what I was doing for almost 30 years, and I stopped doing it. That doesn't mean that I still working out. I swim every day, between 3,000 meters or 5,000 meters each day.
Wow, that's great. Do you do that in the morning?
In the morning, yeah, early morning, and then start my day taking my kids to the school and work and everything.
Yeah. And how many cigars do you smoke a day?
That's a very difficult question to ask. No, I smoked about, not a day, but a week. I think like 10.
Okay.
Like 10 cigars per week.
Yeah, and so one of the things I wanted to ask you too is as an entrepreneur, or even just generally in life, it sounds like you swim. Exercise has been very important to you. Do you have any other habits or rituals that you do on a daily basis other than smoke cigars and swim? Or are those kind of the main things?
When I woke up in the morning, the first thing that I eat, before water and everything, I take 32 ounces of clearacy juice. My wife started telling me, you have to drink celery juice, So I started doing it, and helps me a lot to make my first food of the day something natural, and that's what I do at first every day at almost 5 o'clock in the morning. Other than that, I don't have another ritual. Like,
yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Obviously, I know you've done a lot of reading for your legal career, because lawyers just feel like they're just doing so much reading all the time. But do you have any favorite books or things that maybe that helped contribute to your life or your thinking?
I think that a book that everyone have to read, not only for us, to give it also to our kids, is that book that the name in English is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Uh-huh.
I think that book, I read it for 5 or 7 times, and I think it's a book that everyone have to have in your library.
What's the biggest thing that you got out of that book?
How to manage your money, how to manage your time to make money.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's good to know. Maybe that'll be a future book in the Fearless Journeys book club.
Yeah.
So, life lessons and stuff. What do you think? What do you think one of your biggest successes in life has been so far?
For me, the exact point is to being a father. I love to be a father. When I can, most of the time, when I can, I like to be with my daughter and my son.
That's good. Well, that's a great answer, and I'm sure that's very rewarding as well.
Yeah.
And what about what has been one of the biggest failures you've had in life, and what have you learned from it?
I don't know if it's sadly or happy, but I don't have failures. Really, I think for me, if I had that I don't remember, but if I had a failure, it's a growth at the same time. So I cannot tell you a failure.
So anything that may have been like disappointing or a setback, you don't really look at it necessarily as that. You're looking at it more of a learning opportunity.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So okay, well that's good.
That's right.
Well, I'm gonna have just 2 final questions here. First, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs, and especially for entrepreneurs in Guatemala, on how they may get ahead in their business ventures?
If you have something in mind to do it, you have to go all in. Because if you don't go all in, if you do it by parts, someone else is going to do it all in. So forget about because sometimes you get scared about doing something because you think you're gonna fail. If you're thinking about failing, you're not gonna do it well. So go all in.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons I named my community Fearless Journeys, right? Because everybody has some level of fear at some point, whether it's in an entrepreneurial venture or anything else. And I want to help inspire people listening to role models like yourself.
Oh, thank you very much.
To push past fear and just keep going, keep moving forward. So actually,
and it's a very nice name,
Fearless Journeys.
Yeah.
Well,
very
thank
nice
you,
name.
thank you. Guatemala. The Guatemala you grew up in here in the 70s and 80s and maybe 90s. Obviously, we talked about there being a civil war and all that. It seems like it must be a completely different country now, but I'm just making that assumption based on conversations I've had with lots of people. But how is Guatemala different today, and is it moving in the right direction? Obviously,
I think it's more secure.
It's more secure.
In all the ways of like tourism is a lot more secure. You can go easy wherever you want to go in every place of the country. You experience that.
Yeah. You saw that video I put together on YouTube. Is Guatemala safe? Because I had a lot of people asking, is it safe to be there? Is it safe to be there? We're sitting in a cigar lounge right now in Zone 4 in Guatemala City, and there's no security here. I mean, it's safe to be here.
Yeah.
And I also, it seems to me that there's a lot of economic growth in Guatemala.
Yeah, a lot.
I have been living in Zone 10 most of this year that I've been here, and as you know, all over Zone 10 is just one example. There's a lot of new apartment buildings, condo buildings, hotels, like constant construction. I mean, I was the first thing when I got here. My first video that I made was just showing all the new construction. I was like, well, these are all jobs. Not only are they nice new buildings, but look at all the people working on this construction. And then also, people back in the United States were like, is that Guatemala? Because that's not the Guatemala they show us on TV. And then this is actually even more surprising. I continue to get comments from Guatemalans who have been living in the United States for 5, 10, 15 years and haven't been back to visit.
Okay.
And they're commenting going, oh my gosh, is that my country? It looks beautiful. That's not the Guatemala I left 20 years ago. And I said, come on back. Like, why wouldn't you move back here? It's a great place. So anyway, I just think I've been really surprised, impressed by that. But like you said, you can find all sorts of local brands, international brands, whether it be food chains or retail or anything. The malls here are super nice.
Yeah.
Tell me this. I'm putting you on the spot here, but I've been in Oakland Mall. I've been in Miraflores Mall. Maybe I've been in another one. Fontabella. Beautiful places. Miraflores and Oakland Mall are huge. And they're actually pretty busy even during the COVID.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's restrictions. My thought on that is that these are very safe indoor spaces with a lot of security, and people feel comfortable gathering there socially, almost like kids in the 80s and 90s did in malls in the United States. Because malls in the United States like that are kind of dying now for the most part. You're seeing more like outdoor places, almost a little bit like Fontabella.
You can buy everything in Amazon right now in the States.
And Amazon, yeah. Well, there's not as much Amazon here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as accessible. It's not like it comes to your door.
It's not easier than in the States.
Yeah, so that could kill that in the future,
Yeah.
I suppose. So it's funny that with every new innovation, there's sometimes it
There's
creates,
another innovation.
yeah, and sometimes it creates disruptions in the economy,
Yeah.
right? And so Amazon, great that we can get things delivered to our door, but disruptive for the small business owner who's trying to sell
Right.
something with a bricks and mortar. But you've been innovative in that you probably prefer people to come here, hang out at the lounge, buy some drinks, gather socially. But when they couldn't do that during COVID, or even now, right? People still get some deliveries?
A lot.
Right?
Actually, I have one delivery right now, and before we started this, and we sent it, and he said to me in WhatsApp, it's faster than that Amazon. That's what he
Wow,
said.
Yeah. Well, you're closer to, but
Yeah.
no, you're right. No, it's very good. And I remember when I got here, and your then bartender Pablo said, "Oh, Francisco, yeah, if there's ever a time that you can't make it to Curanto and you want a delivery, I can deliver stuff." And I said, "Oh, that's great, thank you." I haven't taken him up on that
Yeah.
because I'd rather come here.
Yeah.
But and I usually just take some home with me, so I don't have to have them delivered. But for people who can't be here, that's kind of nice. So lastly, one of the last things, what do you want to? Any last thoughts on cigars, on your cigars, or any other cigars, or what the cigar industry has been like for you here? Or what's your favorite cigar?
No, it's very difficult to say what is your favorite cigar because there is a big industry, and every time you try a different cigar, you like it. For time to time, you don't like a cigar. But right now, my favorite cigar is one from Nicaragua. The name is Liga Privada.
Oh yeah.
And
That's by Drew Estate, right?
That's the truth. Yeah, by
Yeah,
Drew
Drew
Estate.
Estate's great.
Yeah, that's my number one cigar for me.
When Nicaragua, when these cigar factories open up in Nicaragua, I'm going to come back here and we're going to go.
Yeah,
to
we have to
Nicaragua.
go.
Yeah, because I'm really sad. That's one of the sad things about right now with the
Yeah.
pandemic is they're not allowing
Yeah.
a lot of visitors. But I'd love to visit Drew Estate.
No, and another thing that I have to say to you is that thank you very much because you are exposing Guatemala outside Guatemala to your friends and the states and everything in a good way, in an open way, because it's to criticize a country, you have to be in the country to say something. This is a little thing that I lived when I went to an exchange student to Canada a long time ago. I was in high school, and the guys in high school asked me if we lived in the trees. And they say, yeah, but we have elevators inside the trees.
Elevators? That's hilarious. I've heard that from multiple people in Guatemala, that people ask you if you live in the trees.
Yeah.
I've never thought that. I don't know what people think, but that's really interesting. The elevators, if the trees are condominium buildings, right, and that are 30 floors tall or something, yes, there's elevators in those trees.
Yeah.
But no, it's Guatemala has been the one thing I say, the people of Guatemala are the most hospitable people, always welcoming, treat you like family. And this is not just something I've said. I've had a lot of friends come and visit, and they love when I take them to Lake Atitlan, and they love seeing Antigua. And I took one friend to Tikal, and they all love the beauty. They're just like are blown away by the beauty of Guatemala. But the one thing they all say to me, unprompted, is the people are amazing in Guatemala.
Oh, nice.
And actually, even when my friend Micah was here, who went to Tikal with me, he walked out, and Micah's not a cigar smoker. I couldn't get him to smoke a cigar in Guatemala, so it's probably never going to happen. But when we went back that night, he said, "Hey, that guy Alex says you sat here and talked to us for like 2 hours." He said, "What an awesome guy that was!" And I think there's just like a genuineness to people in Guatemala that are very warm and hospitable. So hopefully you guys have shown me the love, and you're showing a lot of people the love. And I'm just trying to show people what my experiences have been here. And it's been an amazing place. And it's not that far. So to my friends in the United States, depending on where you are, it could be super close. From Florida, it's only a 2.5 hour flight. Texas is like 2 hour flight. California, just a few hours. So a lot of places are very accessible to Guatemala City. And it's actually, compared to a lot of places I've visited in the world, it's very inexpensive to visit as well.
And the weather comes right now very nice, man.
Oh, and it's the eternal spring. I don't think I got that until I lived here. Until like the weather, it's the most perfect weather all year long.
Yeah.
It's in Fahrenheit, it's like in the 60s and 70s most days. You do have about half the year that it's the rainy season, but and I thought when somebody told me
Thank God we have rain.
Well, yeah. but when somebody told me the rainy season, I was thinking, it's going to be like Seattle. It's going to rain all day long for 6 months. No, it rains like a few hours. Maybe some days it might rain like 6 hours, but it's usually in the afternoon or evening, right? So usually the mornings are really nice here and perfect temperature. And I love getting out and walking in the morning. That's one of my habits. And actually, another reason I've been smoking a lot of cigars this year is all I have to do is go sit outside on my back patio, and it's like the most perfect weather to sit outside and smoke a cigar. So if you can't come to Curanto, you have the eternal spring of Guatemala.
Yeah, that's
where
right.
You can smoke cigars. Well, Alex, it's been a pleasure.
And thank you very much to expose Guatemala to the world. Thank you very much.
Well, hopefully we'll keep doing it, and hopefully more people will continue to come to Guatemala, and I'm looking forward to 10, 20, 30 years from now seeing Guatemala being even more successful and more flourishing than it is today, and probably more and bigger cigar lounges. So thanks, Alex, for being on the Agents of Innovation podcast.
And thank you for your words.